Hi guys, this week with our new story, Goat in the Rug, of course we have some new vocabulary words, so we're going to read through those today. So our first vocabulary word is yarn. People use yarn to knit sweaters, hats, and mittens. Yarn. Okay, so yarn is kind of like a string. You've probably used it, seen it. It's a little bit thicker than string, and it's used for knitting and making crafts and things like that. Our next vocabulary word is strands. The strands of yarn are tied into knots at the bottom of this rug. Strands. So strands are like the leftover little pieces. So you can see the string in the picture. It's just a strand of string that's like left out, and they're knotted. And that was our vocabulary word last week, right? Knot. Our third vocabulary word is spinning. It takes a lot of practice spinning chunks of wool into thin yarn. So spinning, I'm sure you know what that means. It's you're going round and round, you're spinning. Circling, you can do that. You can spin. Swings can spin. Balls can spin. Anything like that. And in this case, they're spinning the yarn though. And that piece in the picture is going round and round and round. All right, our fourth vocabulary word is dye, D-Y-E. These shirts are soaked in dye to make them colorful. So dye is what is used to stain the different things that give it color. So like in this case, shirts or the rug, it's used to give them different colors. So that the dyes are used in clothes and different things. Number 5 is weave. This woman will weave dried grasses into baskets. And weaving is kind of when you're like almost like braiding, but not quite, but like putting different things together in a pattern so that they stay nice and tight. So she's weaving this grass, right? And you can see that it's weaved together to make that basket. All right, our sixth word is sharpening. This pencil does not need sharpening anymore. So sharpening is taking something from dull and giving it a point. So like what you do with pencils, you sharpen them, and sharpening is the action of doing that sharpening, or that sharpen to make it sharp. All right, number 7 is duplicated. Some colors on this rug are duplicated. They appear again and again. So there's a clue in this sentence that helps us tell what duplicated means, and it's those words again and again. So if you duplicate something, it's kind of like it's copied, right? So like our other vocabulary word, copy, you're doing it again and again. It's duplicated. Similar to copied. It's like a synonym. All right, and our last vocabulary word is delicious. This baker makes delicious cakes. They are very tasty. Okay, so delicious, of course, means it tastes very, very good. Okay, it's yummy. All right, so let's talk about the specific definitions with those. So delicious has a very good taste, right? It's very yummy. You want to eat a lot of it usually for delicious. You like it. Sharpening, making something have a sharper edge or a point, so like what we do with a pencil. Spinning, twisting together material to make yarn or thread. So this is spinning in the context of our story. So remember, spinning is anything going around, but in terms of our story, spinning the yarn is twisting together that material to make that yarn. Okay, weave is to make cloth by crossing material one over another, so right, that kind of putting it together like that. Duplicated, to have made an exact copy of something else, so there's that word copy, it's like the synonym. Dye, D-Y-E, a substance used to change the color of a substance, right? So the color of something, it's probably maybe a little bit better. So dye is used to change colors. Yarn is the thick thread made from cotton or wool. And strands are those single pieces of thread that you saw like at the end of the rug. So now we're going to go through and make our triggers. Okay. So as usual, you need your paper with their 4 squares already folded into it. So you have 4 squares on the front and 4 squares on the back. Okay. So we're going to start first with our word yarn. Now for yarn, we're going to do pretty easy. We're just going to do a sketch for yarn. So you're just going to draw kind of like if you've ever seen a ball of yarn. You usually have a little string hanging off the end, right? Seen maybe kittens play with them or things like that. So things like that. All right. Our next vocabulary word we're going to do is strands. Okay, so strands are, remember, those single pieces of yarn or thread at the end. So we're going to use an equation trigger for this. So what plus what equals strands? Okay, so I think of thread plus yarn equals strands, right? Because they have That yarn and that thread has strands. You put those together, you have them at the end, those strands of thread or those strands of yarn. Okay? If you're sewing with wool, so sew plus wool, you're also going to have some strands. All right, remember you can always add your own to these if you're doing it with a video, and of course thinking about if we do them in class together, what different ones we'll have together. So you can always leave some space to add some more. Okay, for spinning, we're going to do an acrostic trigger. Okay, so that means that you're going to have the word spinning vertically. Remember, I used to like to use 2 different colors to make it really clear where the vocabulary word is. So you have spinning. So we're just going to think of things that go with spinning, things that spin. Well, I think of a washer, spins clothes. Ever seen it spins the clothes? If you step on something slippery, you might fall and go spinning. So slippery. Things might spin in a circle. If you think of a tornado, that's really high winds that are spinning really fast. So tornado might spin around, right? Round. If you've ever been to like an amusement park or something in the park, rides, there's lots of rides that spin. I don't really like those. They make me a little dizzy, but some rides do that. You could spin on a swing. We don't really like to do that at school, spinning on the chains and messes them up and things, but some kids do that outside of school. They twist up this swing and spin. All right, and something you guys might have or maybe not, but fidget spinners are definitely something that spin. Right, so those are all really good examples. Okay, for our word dye, D-Y-E, we are going to give examples and non-examples of things you would dye. Okay, so things you would dye. So let's use our example from the story. A rug, clothes, if you've ever done tie-dye. People dye their hair. If you see people with really cool colored hair, or just, they might dye it a different color, like I could dye my hair blonde or something like that, so that would be dye. Just recently, this past holiday, some of you might have dyed eggs, so we could put Easter eggs. That's something that you dye. All right, now let's think of things you would not dye, right? You would not want to dye yourself, like your skin, be blue or green or something like that. You would not want to dye your dog. You wouldn't want to dye maybe like a car because you use different kind of paints and things like that, so dye probably wouldn't be good on the outside of the car. And we can always add more, leave room for your own, whatever you want to do for that, as long as you have a few good triggers. All right. So then on the back, we're going to have weave. So for weave, we're going to do an analogy, so that's with our bridge map. We're going to say weave is to braid, so remember I said it was like braiding, excuse me. Weave is to braid. As quilt, if you've ever seen quilts, you take pieces and put them together, so that's like piecing together. So you're not braiding it, you're not weaving it, you're not like combining pieces this way, you're sewing them like side by side. All right, for sharpening, we're going to do another sketch. So we're just going to draw a pencil because that's a really good trigger for us with something that we would sharpen. I'll put number 2 pencil. All right, so it's a good trigger of something that would sharpen because it has that point also. So it's your pencil, a pencil. All right, for duplicated, we're going to kind of do a word shape, sort of. It's not really a word shape, but we're going to do, it's kind of like a word shape and a sketch together. So we're going to just put copy, 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 copy a bunch. We're going to duplicate the word copy. So we're going to say copy, copy. copy, 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 copy. So we've duplicated the word copy, and copy is a synonym, so that helps us remember that as well. All right, the last word is delicious. All right, so what we're just going to do is just do examples of things that we think are delicious. All right, so donuts. I'm just going to start shouting things out. Remember, you can add anything for you. Candy, cake. Maybe I should do some healthier things. Mac and cheese. Yum. Chicken nuggets. Right, so anything you think is delicious can go in with our examples. Okay, so those are our words for this new story, The Goat and the Rug. Okay, so have a great rest of your day, friends.